Hey guys, Claire Cantro here with Spread the Well, and I wanted to talk about sciatica and the fact that I see a lot of patients who come in describing what they're feeling as sciatica when really they maybe have something adjacent or something a little bit comparable, but not specifically irritation of the sciatic nerve. So when we talk about what true sciatica is, that would be basically a peripheral neuropathy. And what I mean by that is that we have peripheral nerves. So we have nerves that kind of are outside of our spinal cord and brain, which is our central nervous system, nerves that go out into our extremities that are peripheral nerves. And they innervate both, create sensation for our legs and arms or our trunk. They also create or provide motor innervation for our musculature. So it allows the feed forward to our muscles to tell them when to activate and when we need that. And the interesting thing is, peripheral neuropathies have very classic symptoms. Generally, that nerve is being compressed somewhere along its pathway. That nerve could be, irritated because there's an inflammatory process that's happening somewhere along that pathway. And when we talk about kind of entrapment of a peripheral nerve, that can be between two tight muscles or within a fascial restriction or whatnot. But generally, a lot of times you can have lots of different symptomology with a peripheral nerve. But for something to be a true peripheral neuropathy, or in our case that we're talking about right now, sciatica, then you should have symptoms that are associated with some sort of entrapment or irritation of the sciatic nerve. And what I mean by that is there's a particular pattern of pain that we would get with sciatica. You could also get the paresthesias of any kind. So numbness, tingling, dysesthesia, or abnormal sensation, or anesthesia, no sensation in that distribution. You could get weakness in the muscles that the sciatic nerve innervates. So that is all to say that lots of people will come in and they'll say, I have sciatica and it's acting up. And I'll say, okay, well, tell me about, what's going on. And they're saying it's right here, and pointing to their buttock. And while buttock pain is sort of, if we're looking at the umbrella of sciatica, can be a factor, can be a symptom in that bigger picture, oftentimes there are lots of other things that cause buttock pain. And there are even some things that cause pain down the leg that look almost identical to the pain distribution of the sciatic nerve, but that truly have nothing to do with the sciatic nerve. And so the most important thing is we have to understand what that is and what the cause is. And if we have a true peripheral neuropathy and a true sciatic nerve irritation, in addition to some of the releases that I would recommend, or finding along the sciatic nerve pathway where the restriction is and all of that sort of thing, I would add in some nerve glides and some kind of stretching of that neural tissue, which hopefully I'll target in another video. But it's important to distinguish what's truly happening in your body. Okay, so I want to show you first a picture of the sciatic nerve in the body. So this is a picture of the back of someone's leg. So the glute max, you can see, has been peeled back, and that's cut right there. And that's showing you all of the deep hip muscles, the deep glute muscles, and then the back of the leg, okay? So that sciatic nerve is coming out, and it's made up of several nerve roots that from the lumbar and sacral lumbar and sacral plexus, that then come together and form the sciatic nerve. It runs down in the buttock and then down the back, the middle of the back of the thigh. So it's kind of wedged in between all of those hamstrings. So all of these areas can provide an area that creates an entrapment or a compression of that sciatic nerve, okay? But we would have symptomology distal to that, meaning lower than where that sciatic nerve is being compressed. We're going to get some nerve symptoms, okay? So that's a good picture of it. When it gets to the knee, you have one branch you'll see there that breaks off and spins to the outside of the shin. Okay, so that muscle, so you know how you sometimes have a little funny bone in this little area of your knee? That's that part of the sciatic nerve as it branches off and goes down to the lateral shin, okay? The other one continues down the back, sorry about that. The other one continues down the back of the leg, the back of the calf, okay, and innervates the calf muscles. So I wanna also show here, this person's is severed. I think they are just showing you some of the deeper structures. But the most important thing that I want you to see, so this muscle right here is the piriformis. Deep, underneath that, there are several deep hip rotator muscles, okay? That sciatic nerve passes just underneath the piriformis, okay? So a lot of people have heard the term piriformis syndrome, or at least understand some connection between the piriformis muscle and the sciatic nerve, and know that, oh, if I stretch my piriformis, that oftentimes will help improve my sciatic nerve symptoms. The piriformis itself is probably one of the most problematic areas if you have a true sciatica, a true peripheral neuropathy. It's a zone that is oftentimes where it's being compressed. In like 15% of the population, I just guessed that, but it is a small percentage of the population where the sciatic nerve actually pierces through the piriformis muscle. Those are the people that are more prone and more predisposed to having true sciatica problems, okay? So I just wanted to kind of, again, show that proximity. So if I'm getting super tight in my piriformis and in these deep hip rotator muscles, that can be problematic for the sciatic nerve. If I am super tight in my hamstrings and I have fascial restrictions all along the back of my leg, that can be problematic for the sciatic nerve, okay? So the other thing that I want to show you, though, is what's super interesting about the glute muscles. So there's 3 glute muscles, and, so arguably a collection of those bad boys. The glute max is the big booty muscle that we know of. There are 2 deeper glute muscles that are a little bit more lateral, meaning to the side body, okay? And if you watch my video on the IT band, the glutes, the glute medius and the glute minimus, are just kind of to the back of where that IT band is. So if we've got the IT band in the front, we've got that tensor fasciae lata. In the back is where those glute med and min are. But I want to show you something in all of the glutes. All of them create some. Now, mind you, this is my trusty trigger point manual, and you can see that's anatomically the glute. Those little dots are where you might have a trigger point, and then the grayed shaded area is referred pain. All right, that one's right on the butthole. This one is in the buttock. These are in the buttock. Okay, so you've got the glute max, number 1, that can create buttock pain. You've got the glute medius, which is the next deepest muscle. And again, this one is often problematic when people have sacral pain or SI joint dysfunction. This one, again, refers all in the buttock. Okay, so a second problem zone that can create, pain in the buttock. The most interesting thing and the most often missed and labeled as sciatica because of its referred pain distribution is the glute minimus, okay? So the glute minimus is the deepest of those glute muscles, and look at where it refers pain, not only in the buttock, as you can see there, but also down the back of the leg and into the calf, and here down the side of the leg and the side of the calf. These 2 pain presentations are almost identical to what we see in the pain distribution of the sciatic nerve. So these 2 things, it can be one or the other, and arguably maybe a, nerve root compression for another video. But it's important to know that, like, This right here is an easy fix, or a much easier fix than creating an identity around, I have a sciatica problem and it flares up and it gets bad and I don't know what to do about it, and that sort of narrative. This is a trigger point release. Ow, peaches. Sorry, peaches. Trigger point releases, as we know, can be so effective in almost immediately giving you some relief from pain, okay? So I'm going to show you some of those treatments. Finally, the piriformis muscle itself refers butt pain, okay? So let's start calling our pain what it is. If we have pain, numbness, tingling, other types of paresthesias, sensory changes, motor problems, weakness into the leg, we can call that sort of grouping of symptoms sciatica. If we simply have buttock pain, let's dive a little bit deeper about what that is and why that is. Can tight glutes, tight piriformis, all of that contribute to sciatica? Absolutely. But let's make it a little easier on ourselves when we're trying to understand a little bit more about our body. Okay, so when we are doing I wanted to show y'all. So this is a picture of, that's glute max, and then here glute medius is pulled back, and that's glute min right there. Okay. So when we're doing these releases, you get your trusty balls, okay? Knowing that, again, if this is like my side body, those glutes are almost lateral to a little bit back, okay? So again, I'm gonna get on that ball, and I'm gonna find different little problem areas, and when I find a spot, I'm gonna sit with it and hold pressure. Okay. Whew, it'll be real intense at first, and then it'll kind of start to come down. When you are getting, my glutes are going to be a little bit more on the side. So I've kind of quarter turned here. The piriformis, which goes from kind of the back of that greater trochanter, the big bony prominence in the hip, to the sacrum. And so that spans right there. So that's kind of target rich anywhere in that area. What you'll understand, though, is that sometimes when you're doing a release where you're laying on a ball and you're compressing through, the piriformis or other structures, you're also pushing on the sciatic nerve. So you may start feeling some of the numbness, tingling, or symptomology down the leg. That should not last unless you're decided to go rogue and staying on there for hours at a time. But your trigger point releases, again, are find the spot, hold up to 60 seconds. When it goes from pain or, ooh, that's intense, to just kind of pressure, roll around, navigate, find the next spot, okay? So I wanted to kind of just distinguish between what a true sciatica is versus what myofascial trigger points in the glutes and piriformis start mimicking those same types of symptoms. Okay, hope that's helpful.